The house is alive with sound, music trembling from lutes and pipes, bodies moving in a golden blur beneath swinging lanterns. Your mask hides you well enough, black satin, feathered edge, a shield against questions of who you are, or more dangerously, who you belong to. The Capulets know how to host. Their courtyard is draped with silks, the perfume of roses rising from every corner, so heavy it nearly masks the sweat of dancing men and the salt tang of wine-soaked air. You wander slowly, pretending to belong, your steps light, your eyes searching, and then her. She is no more than a glance at first, a girl in pale silk, her hair catching the glow of torches like strands of fire. You don't know her name yet, though it hangs in the air like a secret. Juliet. She is laughing at something a cousin whispers, though you catch the trace of unease in her smile, as if she is already carrying the weight of her family's pride. You try not to stare, but her gaze flickers back, quick, certain, like a spark leaping from kindling to dry wood. For a moment, the noise dims, the lute falters, the chatter softens. There is only that glance, sharp enough to leave you strangely breathless. You touch the rim of your goblet just to anchor yourself. The first human experience arrives here, the one everyone knows, the lightning strike recognition. You know what it's like? That shiver of noticing someone across a crowded room when suddenly every detail stands out in high relief. The red of her lips, the way she tilts her head when she listens. You wonder if she notices, too, the way your hand tightens slightly on the cup, as though holding onto a truth too fragile to name. The music shifts, and so does your courage. You step forward, closer to the center of the crowd, weaving through laughter and twirling dancers, your mask still in place. She notices. Of course she notices. Her fingers brush the edge of her gown nervously, then still. The moment builds like a tide, inevitable, impossible to turn away from. When at last you stand before her, words falter. You choose the simple ones. You tell her she shines brighter than the torches. Yes, it's clumsy, maybe even foolish, but her lips curve with something like amusement, something like interest. And she answers you, not with dismissal, not with suspicion, but with the ease of someone whose heart has not yet been warned. A light emotional turn drifts in here, joy, soft and reckless. You forget the feud, forget the possibility of being unmasked. She is Juliet, though you don't know it yet, and she leans in just enough that you can smell the faint sweetness of roses from her hair. You trace the edge of her hand, tentative, the way you might touch a petal that looks too delicate to survive. And she lets you. The night folds around you both. The masquerade continues, a swirl of color and song, but you find yourselves in a smaller orbit, circling each other with words as fragile as thread. She teases you lightly, asks why your mask is so plain when every other man in the hall drips with feathers and jewels. You laugh, admitting you wanted to see, not to be seen. It feels like the kind of detail you shouldn't confess, yet it lingers between you like something intimate. And then another shift, the recognition of consequence. A cousin of hers calls her name sharply, and suddenly the syllables sting in your ear. Juliet Capulet. The realization strikes you harder than any blade might. She belongs to them, to the family your own has cursed for generations. It is absurd, really, to feel the world tilt from a simple name, but your body knows before your mind can reason it out. You hesitate. She sees the flicker in your eyes. She presses closer, almost whispering, asking if you've already decided to leave. And there, in that fragile second, another recognizable experience emerges, the tug-of-war between fear and longing. You could walk away, save yourself from what you know will come. Or you could lean further in, gamble everything on the way her voice quivers, the way her gaze holds yours like a secret only you two can share. You stay. Of course you stay. And it feels like standing on the edge of something vast and irreversible. Later, long after the music fades and the torches burn lower, You will still remember one detail above all others, not her gown, not her name, not even the risk. It will be the way her fingers tapped lightly against her wine cup as she listened to you, a tiny rhythm she probably didn't even notice she kept. That rhythm has already set itself inside you, a pulse that beats even now. You wonder silently, as you step back into the night air with the stars overhead, whether what you felt was truly love or only the rush of forbidden desire. But the question doesn't matter yet. What matters is that you saw her, she saw you, and the world has quietly, irrevocably shifted. The garden is quiet now, hushed in the kind of stillness that only comes after a long evening of noise. The laughter of guests has faded, the last torches extinguished, and yet you remain, hidden beneath the stretch of climbing ivy and the arch of stone walls that guard the Capulet grounds. The air is thick with the scent of jasmine, sweet and heavy, and the crickets sing a chorus as steady as a heartbeat. You should not be here. That thought runs through your mind like a warning bell, yet your feet refuse to move. The masquerade gave you a taste, but it is this night that offers you more, the chance to linger, to breathe the same air as Juliet without masks or music to blur her presence. And then above you, a flicker of movement, a balcony. Her balcony. Juliet steps out, her gown ghost-like in the pale wash of moonlight. She rests her hands on the stone ledge, tilts her face upward, and sighs as if the weight of the world presses upon her, even at her tender age. You stay hidden, breath caught in your throat, feeling half an intruder, half a pilgrim at the shrine of something holy. Her voice drifts into the night, soft, musing, unaware she has an audience. She speaks of names, of the cruelty of them, as if a word could cut deeper than a knife. She wonders aloud why you must carry the name you do, why fate insists on separating two hearts before they've even had time to truly touch. The human experience slips in naturally here, the frustration of barriers you never asked for. You know what it feels like, rules and divisions drawn long before you ever arrived, shaping the possibilities of your choices. You cannot hold back. The words leap from your lips before you've thought them through, your voice carried upward by desperation and courage. She startles, then leans forward, her eyes wide. Recognition softens her fear, and soon her surprise melts into something warmer. She whispers your name, half a prayer, half a trembling confession. The moment swells, alive with quirk and detail. She clutches the edge of the balcony, but her thumb taps nervously against the stone. A small rhythm like the one she kept against her cup at the masquerade. You notice it, and it draws you in even closer, a tiny gesture more intimate than the words you've just exchanged. The dialogue flows in whispers and laughter. You tell her you would cast aside your name if it meant keeping her, and though you know how reckless it sounds, she answers with a smile, as if she has already imagined a life beyond walls and feuds. The joy of this secret connection floods you, as giddy as it is terrifying. And yet, a shadow creeps in, the second emotional turn of the night. Even in her eagerness, Juliet's voice dips with sadness when she admits the danger you both court. She knows her family's temper, the weight of her father's pride, the sharpness of her cousin's sword. She worries aloud, and you feel it too, the cold rush of fear that presses against the fragile bubble of joy you've created. Still, neither of you can retreat. You step closer, daring the thorns of the garden, daring discovery, daring the impossible. She leans over the stone, lowering herself toward you as if gravity itself conspires in your favor. For one suspended breath, you think of the absurdity. You are clinging to shadows, stealing moments like coins from a miser's purse. But when her fingers brush yours, none of that matters. Her hand lingers. She studies your face with the earnestness of someone who knows time is fleeting. You promise, foolishly, sincerely, that you will find a way, that this garden will not be the only place your voices can meet. She whispers her trust back to you, a vow lighter than air, heavier than destiny. It is in this moment that longing takes full shape. You know the sensation well, the ache of wanting something that feels too close to touch, too far to hold forever. You breathe it in like night air, equal parts sweetness and ache. As she finally retreats into the house, her gown vanishing into the shadows, you linger beneath the balcony, unwilling to leave. The garden seems to hold her memory, the roses exhaling her perfume, the night air echoing her sighs. You let your fingers trail along the ivy, grounding yourself in the texture of leaves, as though touching the world she walks in might tether you both together. Walking away is harder than you thought it would be. You slip into the alley, glancing once over your shoulder to the silent balcony. You wonder already, after so brief an encounter, if this love is something that could bloom under watchful stars, or if it is only a dream stitched into shadows. The thought remains open, unresolved, curling in your chest like smoke. And yet you know one truth with startling clarity: you will return. You will carve more nights from silence, steal more whispers from the garden air, risk discovery for the fragile beauty of her presence. Because even now, as you walk back into the dark, every sound of the city, the splash of a fountain, the barking of a stray dog, seems duller without her voice threaded through it. The night after your secret meeting lingers in your chest like a low burning flame. Every sound, every scent, every ripple of the day feels sharper now. The feud has not softened. The Montagues and Capulets still glare across the marketplace, still mutter insults in the streets, but beneath all of that, you carry the echo of her hand brushing yours in the garden. And it doesn't take long for desire to twist into urgency. One meeting is never enough. You find yourself circling back, searching the shadows for her presence, memorizing the rhythm of her steps on stone. The city of Verona becomes smaller, not because its streets have changed, but because every corner leads you closer to her. When at last you meet again, the words come tumbling, plans, dreams, foolish declarations that feel so much stronger than reason. Juliet's eyes gleam when she speaks of freedom, her fingers twisting unconsciously at the silk cord of her sleeve. There is no patience in you, no waiting for time to solve what burns between you. So together you speak of vows, of making what you feel unbreakable, even if the world must never know. The chapel is small, unassuming, tucked away at the edge of the city. You step through its doors at dawn, the air cool, the smell of incense lingering from morning prayers. Friar Lawrence is there, weary-eyed but tender, as though he has already seen the story written in the lines of your faces. He hesitates, of course. He knows what the feud means, knows the danger you invite. But Juliet's voice is steady, and yours is insistent, and perhaps he believes, in his quiet way, that love can soften the iron edges of old hate. So he agrees. And there, with candles flickering weakly against the stone walls, you bind yourselves to each other. The words are whispered, almost swallowed by the air, but you feel them sink into your bones. Juliet's hand trembles in yours, not from fear, but from the enormity of it all. The audacity of claiming love as yours in a world that insists it cannot be. A recognizable experience weaves through the moment, the thrill of doing something reckless, something you know you shouldn't, but doing it anyway because your heart insists. You have felt it before, sneaking into places you didn't belong, tasting freedom in small acts of rebellion. But never has it mattered this much. Never has the consequence been so vast. A tiny quirk fixes itself in your memory. As Juliet repeats the vow, she bites gently at her lower lip, a nervous habit she probably doesn't even notice. You watch the gesture, charmed, certain you will remember it forever. It's so human, so ordinary, and yet in that ordinary detail, your love feels more real than any poetry. The vows end and silence falls. For a heartbeat, you both stand suspended, as though the world has tilted but not yet found its new balance. Then her smile breaks through, luminous, shaky but fierce. You realize in that moment that you would carry this secret forever, if that's what it took to keep it safe. Still, even joy bends under the weight of reality. As you step from the chapel, hand in hand, the city feels different, its streets sharper, its voices louder, its dangers closer. You know that you cannot simply walk together in daylight, cannot share this bond openly. You must return to shadows, to stolen glances, to hurried whispers under balconies. This is where the second emotional turn settles in, longing sharpened by frustration. You ache for the ordinary, for something as simple as walking beside her without fear, and yet you cannot. The secrecy becomes its own cage, gilded by love but unyielding. You wonder, quietly, whether this was wisdom or madness. You ask yourself in silence, is this truly love, or just the thrill of defiance wrapped in silk? The thought floats heavy in your chest, unanswered, yet you cling to Juliet's laughter, the warmth of her hand, the truth of her vow. That must be enough. Later, when you part once more, the world feels hollow in her absence. You notice details you never cared about before. The way market stalls clatter when shutters are dropped, the sour smell of wine spilled in the gutter, the echo of footsteps on cobblestones at dusk. Each thing feels dull, robbed of light, because she is not there to weave it into meaning. And yet, beneath the ache, you carry a secret pulse of joy. You are no longer drifting, no longer a guest at someone else's party. You are bound, chosen, tethered. Love may be hidden, but it is yours. The days that follow your vows carry a strange duality. Inside you, there is a quiet triumph, the warm glow of knowing Juliet is yours, her promise tied to yours like two threads knotted in secret. But around you, Verona churns with its same old tensions, the Montagues and Capulets clashing in the streets, cousins with hot tempers sharpening swords, not just for practice, but for pride. You walk through it all carrying a hidden flame, one no one else can see, and yet every quarrel threatens to snuff it out. You find yourself dreaming of escape more than once. To slip away to Mantua, to some nameless town where family feuds mean nothing, where your love could unfold in sunlight rather than shadows. Juliet dreams it too. You hear it in the hush of her voice, the way she lingers on the thought of freedom, as if she's already rehearsed running away. These conversations are soft, whispered against the edge of night, but the urgency grows louder each time, and then reality presses in with the cruelty of fate. Tybalt, her cousin, fierce and restless, cannot leave your name unchallenged. He prowls the streets, seeking confrontation, his anger as sharp as the blade he wears. The air thickens with the promise of violence, and though you swear to yourself you want no part in it, fate seems to coil around you like a snake tightening. One afternoon, beneath the glaring sun, it happens. Words are thrown, tempers ignite, and in the heat of the moment, swords flash. You try to hold back, to say the piece, but anger is contagious, and steel sings when struck. Before you know it, blood stains the stones. Tybalt falls, and with him, the fragile balance of your world. Here lies the first emotional turn, fear crashing into guilt. The victory is hollow. The blade you held feels heavier than your own body. The city recoils, shouts ripple through the square, and you know instantly that nothing can be the same. Tybalt is family to Juliet, beloved even in his fury. And you, her secret husband, are now his killer, banished. The word comes swiftly, mercilessly. Verona will not hold you anymore. You are driven to Mantua, not as a lover escaping with his bride, but as an exile, a shadow of yourself. The distance aches like a wound. Nights in Mantua are colder, the stars harsher. You clutch memories like fragile trinkets, trying to keep them whole. The way Juliet tapped her thumb against the balcony stone, the nervous bite of her lip at the altar. You replay her laughter until it feels like a prayer, a chant against loneliness. And still, hope refuses to die. Juliet finds a way to send word, her messages written like lifelines across the void. Plans begin to take shape, fragile as paper, schemes to be reunited, to outwit fate. A draft that mimics death, a trick to free her from her father's will, a chance for you both to begin anew. The friar swears it will work. Juliet's faith shines even brighter than your own. This is where the second emotional turn seeps in, a strange mix of anticipation and dread. You want to believe in the plan and its cleverness and its promise. But beneath the hope lies unease, the sense that timing is fragile, that one misstep could scatter everything. You lie awake at night, tracing imaginary paths in your mind, her journey, your return, the moment you'll meet again. And always there is the nagging whisper, what if something goes wrong? Yet love is louder than doubt. You cling to the thought of her face, to the promise whispered in candlelight. You tell yourself the world is vast and clever enough to bend for the sake of two determined hearts. And even as you pace Mantua's streets, restless, waiting for word, you find yourself caught by small human details. The way children chase each other around fountains reminds you of innocence you no longer feel. The scent of bread baking drifts from taverns, cruel in its normalcy, as though life dares to continue while yours is suspended. You press a hand against stone walls just to feel something solid, as though Verona's walls might answer you from afar. The plan is set. Juliet will drink the potion, her family will believe her gone, and you will be there when she wakes, free at last. The thought fills you with reckless hope, the kind that drowns out every warning. Still, you can't silence one inner question, sharp and haunting. Is love strong enough to outwit death, or are you only rushing faster toward it? You don't answer it, you can't. Instead, you carry the hope like a lantern through the dark, clinging to the thought of her lips whispering your name again. The letter never reaches you. That is how fate works sometimes, cruel not in grand gestures, but in the smallest missteps. A delay, a missed messenger, a silence where there should have been words. In Mantua, you wait with restless hope, unaware that Verona believes Juliet gone, that her family has laid her in the tomb with cold hands and stone prayers. You wait for news of freedom, not knowing that what you love most now lies in a chamber of shadows. When the rumor finally arrives, it is not of clever tricks or midnight reunions. It is blunt, merciless. Juliet is dead. The words strike like iron, searing through your chest, unraveling every thread of hope you've clung to. You do not question it, though part of you aches with disbelief. Instead, grief surges so powerfully that reason vanishes. Without her, what is there to wait for? Without her, what light can the world possibly hold? You ride hard for Verona, the road blurring beneath you, the air tearing at your lungs. Each turn of the wheel feels heavier, pulling you closer not to salvation, but to the inevitable. You carry with you the vial, the bitter promise of reunion and death. It feels almost gentle in your palm, though you know the violence it holds. The crypt is cold, thick with the smell of stone and faded incense. Torches flicker weakly against the walls. And there she is, Juliet, still pale, dressed as though for a wedding that never came. Your heart breaks twice in one moment, once for the sight of her lying there, once for the beauty that refuses to fade even in this silence. You touch her hand, expecting coldness, but even in its chill, you imagine you can still feel the memory of her warmth. The human experience here is devastatingly familiar. Loss. Not the small kind, not the daily grief of parted lovers or mischances, but the kind that empties your chest, makes you wonder how breath itself can continue. You have known longing and joy, but never this bottomless absence. And still a quirk remains, even in the shadow of despair. As you brush her cheek with trembling fingers, you notice her lips, slightly parted, as if she might speak. It haunts you, that small detail, as though she is seconds from waking, as though the world might be cruel enough to let you believe in miracles. You whisper to her anyway. You tell her of your love, of your vows, of the garden and the balcony, and the way she tapped her thumb against the stone. You tell her you will not leave her here alone. And then, with a final kiss to her lips, you drink the vial. The bitterness burns down your throat, heavy and fast. The world tilts, and yet your last thought is strangely calm, relief, even, that you will not wander through it without her. But fate, never satisfied with tragedy in halves, delivers its cruelest blow. As the poison courses through you, Juliet stirs. Her chest rises, her eyes flutter open, and she whispers your name. You turn your head weakly, joy and devastation colliding in your fading vision. You reach for her hand, but your body is already slipping away. Her cry pierces the tomb, soft yet endless, a sound meant only for your ears. She sees the vial, understands instantly, and grief collapses her knees. She kisses you, tasting the last of the poison on your lips, and in her despair, she finds her own way to follow. And so the two of you rest together in the silence of the tomb. The feud outside rages on, but inside this stone chamber, your devotion is carved deeper than death. Verona will remember. The world will remember. But you, locked in this eternal embrace, no longer need remembering. You are simply, endlessly together. Now, as the story folds into its stillness, the final emotional turn softens. Grief fades into peace, longing into rest. You lie side by side, your love untouchable, your whispers preserved in the hush of stone. So now, let the edges blur and let the story dissolve into something gentler. You've walked through masquerade halls, through secret gardens, through chapels and exile and tombs. You've touched joy and longing and the ache of parting, all threaded through the simple rhythm of love, the kind that feels too powerful to belong to this world. But here, at the end, there is no more noise. The feud falls away. The swords are sheathed, the city sleeps. In this chamber, it is only silence, steady and deep, like the hush of waves on a distant shore. And that silence is not empty, it is full, brimming with rest, with the quiet certainty that love, once spoken, never truly disappears. You can feel the cool stone beneath you, smooth and grounding, reminding you that even in endings, there's a place to lay down, a place to be held. You can feel the soft drift of air moving slowly across your skin, like a whisper too gentle to understand, but comforting nonetheless. Allow your breath to slow now to match the rhythm of stillness. Inhale gently as if drawing in moonlight. Exhale fully as if setting down every heavy thought. With each breath, the story loosens, the world softens, and you are left only with the tender echo of devotion. Rest now. The garden waits in dreams, the balcony rises in starlight, and the promise of love continues, steady and unbroken, even in the quietest of places. Sweet dreams.